If you're suffering from back pain, give me a call. Dr. Jeff King with King Clinic Chiropractic, 217-641-0644.
The board is pleased to proceed with the selection process to hire a new high school varsity boys basketball coach. Superintendent Steve Cobb has selected board member Saeed Ali and athletic director Bill Sanders to serve as chairs of the newly formed selection committee, specifically charged with finding the most qualified candidate to fill this position. This committee will serve as a subcommittee to the superintendent. Once the committee has selected a candidate, Superintendent Cobb will then recommend the candidate to the Board of Education for hire. We have put together a committee which most certainly will ensure that we continue the outstanding tradition of Blue Devil basketball in this community. The press release on Friday inadvertently failed to mention Athletic Director Bill Sanders as co-chair of the committee, and we certainly apologize for that oversight. Saeed?
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. I'm very excited to be a part of this committee for the search of the new basketball coach. I feel that most of us involved with Quincy Public Schools, our priority is to give our students the best opportunity to succeed after they graduate. I've always maintained that extracurriculars is an excellent way to give our students that edge, after graduation. I don't think it really matters what they're passionate about, whether it's soccer or chemistry or performance arts or the robotics team, as long as we're giving them the opportunity to do something and participate in something that they love. And as leaders, I think that stopping at participation isn't enough. I think that we should demand excellence in every aspect of our school system, and that absolutely includes our athletics. Over the past few years, especially over the past few weeks, there have been some comments from fellow alumni and community members saying that Quincy as a community, we live in the past, or we go off of our past success or tradition, and we'll never reach those heights that we did when Larry Moore, Bruce Douglas, and Kyle Cartmill were walking the halls. I personally don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I think that the best way to identify what our program is capable of or not capable of is to reach out to some of those people that have made our program what it is today. We have some of the tradition and some of the success because of some of these individuals. Reaching out to former players and community members, I don't think is exclusive to our basketball program. I think that this type of approach is something that we can use in a number of areas where we're trying to create an environment of excellence. So we released the committee members last week. I'll give a little breakdown on the committee members and why we chose some of these committee members. First of all, we wanted to have former players that have seen success with those teams. Hall of Famers, Bruce Douglas, Kyle Cartmill, Larry Moore, Andy Wagner. Bruce Douglas, I'm not going to really go into too much on stats because I have to get back to work today. But he's an all-time leader in points here at the high school. I believe he still holds a record at the University of Illinois for assists. He played in the NBA, and he was willing to help us out and let us pick his brain. So that's tremendous. Kyle Cartmill is fifth on the scorers list. He played Division I at ISU. He led that team to the NCAA tournament. So he knows all about March Madness. He's an incredible person to serve. Larry Moore is on the Hall of Fame, and he has the most points still recorded in the season. During that season, he averaged almost 28 points a game, which is absolutely incredible. And then Andy Wagner, along with coaching experience, I believe he was members of undefeated basketball team in the early 90s. We also have some multi-sport athletes, which we thought was pretty important. We want to address that. John Ernst, when I met John in junior high school, I thought he was just a golfer because he was a city champion. It was a little bit later on that I found out that he, and I quote, is the owner of one of the smoothest jump shots in school history. Hall of Famer as a basketball player, went to Culver Stockton, lettered in both golf and basketball. Kerry Anders is arguably maybe the greatest athlete that's ever come out of Quincy High School. holds a lot of records. I believe he lettered in 5 sports when he played, and he has 20, 30 years of coaching experience under his belt, so that's fantastic. And we want to look at friends of the program, people that dedicate a lot of time and effort and money to our athletics. Dick Ventura is in our Hall of Fame, and on his Hall of Fame page, I believe it starts out that he's as much a part of Blue Devil basketball as Baldwin Gym itself. So for him to agree to be on this, it's tremendous. Floyd Robbins, I know that there's going to be a large group of people trying to get him inducted into the Hall of Fame this year. Even after his kids graduated, the amount of time and effort he spent on developing youth and giving them opportunities to do something productive in athletics has just been tremendous. Steve Bybee was a very popular name as well. He played for Coach Hanks. His oldest son, Kevin, played for Leggett with some great teams, and the youngest son, John, graduated in '97 and played for Lauren Wallace. And then Paul Koszelski. Paul Koszelski will be a tremendous asset to this committee. His father's in our Hall of Fame. For a 35-year-old, I don't know a lot of people that have the knowledge and the dedication to Quincy athletics, period, between football and basketball. He's also very proactive and forward-thinking. So I know that him and a lot of community members are getting together some ideas on how to develop some of the younger groups and the youth in the area, give them opportunities for transportation, and develop their talents at a young age. And I think that you'll be hearing more about that, here in the future. So that's and then along with the 10 All-Stars, rounding that out, myself, Dave Boster, HR director, and then co-chairing Bill Sanders, our athletic director.
No history of Dave's sports prowess or anything.
He has an unbelievable short game. It's pretty solid. That's what I had. If there's some questions.
No, go to Bill.
Bill, I'm sorry.
We look forward to going through the process and seeing the candidates we have and going through and going through applications and resumes and then talking to the applicants and then the committee members and getting feedback and going through the process and seeing where we are.
Questions?
How will the process work? Will the committee do interviews? Will you, like they have in the past, because I know they, when Sean was hired, they had a committee, community committee that sat in on the interviews. So I'm assuming this is like that. Will you narrow it to finalists like they did then? I mean, how's the process going to work?
Yeah, I believe so, and I think that it's probably going to be twofold because it's a little bit more than just myself and Bill picking out a few people and then start reviewing resumes. I mean, we thought that this was a good opportunity to kind of identify where we're at and then, along with the talent that we have on this committee, identify short-term goals, long-term goals, what our expectations are. I think that that's kind of the building blocks. And then after that, start diving into some of the candidates and their resumes and go for the perfect fit there with the interviewing.
So is there a basic imperative? I mean, you live in this community, obviously you've heard all the different agendas that are out there. Is there one overarching imperative that I guess, other than winning, that really stands out in this process that you're looking for?
No, I think that will probably be better addressed when we can get the committee together. I don't know how fair it would be if, myself or Bill, I didn't play basketball, I don't play basketball, I don't have a coaching experience. So for me to say that, this is what has to happen and this is what we're shooting for, I'd rather sit down and talk to some of these people that are on this list to kind of formulate something. And then through the superintendent's committee, I'm sure there'll be updates throughout the process.
A lot of questions as to why there was no women on the search committee. Can you address that?
Yeah, and I understand the value of diversity in an organization, or on a committee. I gave you a little bit breakdown on how we picked the committee members. We kind of gathered a very big list of people, and I got input from men, women, coaches, former coaches. We weren't sure what the interest was going to be because it is kind of a public committee. First 8 people 10 people we reached out to accepted, and it was it was tremendous. So we're really excited about that. I'm well aware of the female athletic talent in this community. Growing up here, I get that. I appreciate that. One of my heroes growing up was Karen Kemner. I mean, I understand all of that, and I can assure you that if this committee was not the Quincy boys basketball team, and we were talking about the ladies Devils, then my first 2 telephone calls would not have been to, a Larry Moore and a Kyle Cartmill. They probably would have been to someone like a Ruth Kipping or a Shai Cartmill, both in the Hall of Fame. So I know that was brought up, and I obviously didn't want any group to feel, left out. If anybody did, that wasn't the intention. I apologize. But with that being said, I think it's a credible committee, and we're pretty excited about moving forward.
Can you talk about the interest so far that you've received? I understand there are already some resumes in the hopper. And when you get these resumes, what are some of the things you're looking at? And if a candidate were to have an IHSA infraction or violation on their resume, does that automatically eliminate them?
Probably defer to
We
our
posted
HR.
the job last Wednesday. We've already had 8 people express an interest in the position.
And as far as when you look at the resumes, obviously some of these people are going to apply. Not every candidate's perfect. Is the IHSA, does that matter? Is that going to be something to be taken into consideration, or is it an automatic, nah, they're out of here?
From an HR standpoint, we'll do the background investigation, and then we'll submit those to the committee.
Will the person that gets the job, will they have a teaching position also at Quincy High School?
It depends. It's a matter of, we've got several openings right now. So it's a matter of seeing what their teaching background is, if they are a certified teacher or not. So it depends on what their background is, and obviously we would look to see if we have an opening in that discipline to fit that.
With that said, how important is it to get, be it a teacher or be it dean of students or to have them in the school? Not because you're
Absolutely.
I've had the conversation with several people recently. Situation with Damon Day being a firefighter and the lack of success with the girls program, that he's not in the school, he's not drumming up the support with the girls. How important is it to have that person in the school?
Yeah, I think ideally you want the person in the school for a lot of reasons. One, going back to something that Chris asked, different things you're looking for. One of the things I would look for is this coach going to want students to play multiple sports, and we want them to. In my opinion, the days of the one sport athlete need to be bygone days. To me, especially being a former girls coach, you look across town at the success. And what's one of the reasons Notre Dame's girls sports have had a lot of success? They've had girls playing multiple sports. We need more kids playing multiple sports. And I've always been a proponent of that when I was a coach and now in this position. Getting back to your question, Matt, I think it's important if the head coach is in the building to have coaches on staff in the building. Ideally the head coach, but at the very least coaches on staff in the building.
The question of diversity has come up in a lot of the people that we've talked to. There's been some consternation that the previous staff didn't look representative of who we are as a community. There's obviously been some allegations about things that happened on the previous watch about quote-unquote dirty foreigner situation. How big an imperative going forward is maybe diversifying the staff and looking at different options and maybe making this coaching staff more representative of who we are as a community racially?
We're always looking at opportunities.
We're always looking at opportunities, and I think that what we're looking for, like I mentioned early, is excellence at all of our positions. And in that, I think that if we do a proper job with the committee and identifying exactly who we're looking for as far as a coach and staff, I'm confident that we won't run into issues like that, regardless of race.
So I'm interested more in, I think it's interesting, you've got Hank, Sarah, representatives, Leggett era representatives, Wallace era. But there's not a person on the committee that has been part of the program in the last 20 years. Did you reach out to anybody to give a feel of what it's like now? What's going on? What worked the last decade and a half? What didn't? Get their insight on this.
Yeah, and I think that just because there might not be a former player, let's say, from the last 10 years, which there's plenty on, like I said, the list, but the willingness of some of the committee members that we called was excellent. Because that's not there does not mean that the committee members that we do have are not very involved and know exactly what's going on, with our current program, things that we're doing well, things that there's room for improvement on. But when you go, committee member by committee member, it's tough to beat, some of the people that we brought on. So.
Is there a timeline? Is there, we'd like to have somebody in by middle of May? I mean, is there any in that situation?
No, we don't have a specific date set right now, but I can say that we're not dragging our feet on this by any means. Right off the bat, we wanted to get the committee in place, and which we did, and now we're talking with you guys, and the goal is to have the committee members get together this week, identify our goals, expectations, short-term, long-term, a lot of that stuff. What we're looking for in a coach, someone to drive this program, moving forward, and then as soon as next week, start looking through some of these candidates and resumes. So there's not a specific date, but we're moving on it.
Is there
Let me just say though, the key for me is superintendent, and I'm not in a rush. Is find the right fit. You have to find the right fit.
That being said, though, with high school sports, especially basketball now, is a year-round proposition.
Yes,
You've got summer camp, you've got summer leagues that these guys play in. So is there anybody who is tending to the program now, so to speak, or are we waiting for the new guy to come in and just, here you go?
It's kind of a delicate balance because of, whoever the new person coming in, wanting them to have obviously say in what they're going to be doing. But yeah, that's something where I'll start talking with the assistant coaches to find out, okay, what were things that worked last summer that we want to still look at, and can we go ahead and get into those now? Can we wait? So camps and leagues and those things do fill up. But at the same time, it's also been my experience that can you get into those things late? Yeah, typically you can.
How's the process going to work with the first two guys you mentioned? Don't live in Quincy.
Yeah.
So when you comes interview time and have somebody sitting in this room, they're not here to see the body language and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and a couple people have brought that up. I guess if, like I'd mentioned, if we're just taking resumes off the printer, looking for coaching experience, and then pulling a trigger on someone, that's one thing. But like I said, we really want to identify, where we're going with this program and what the expectations are. When you take two people like Kyle Cartmill and Bruce Douglas, for us, it wasn't really a question of would they add value to the committee. It was more of a question of were they willing, were we going to be able to, would they have time to. So I've talked to both of them, and through conference call, Skype, there's some other video conferencing things available. I'm confident that they're going to add value to this committee, absolutely. Not just them, but with a 13-member committee, if we're interviewing, there might be a chance that someone is not able to attend, and that's, we take notes and we have discussions and we have input from each other. The goal is to have everybody, get everyone's input on the committee before we move in any direction. So I'm confident that that'll be a non-issue.